Now it's time for Lefties Losing It, and I have played you many clips of lefties spewing lies, uttering insane diatribes and generally behaving in an ugly, hate-filled manner. We marvel and mock the sheer shameless stupidity of the modern left daily on this program. We've almost become desensitised to the insanity, but even I was taken aback, sickened by this demented diatribe from MSNBC's Nicole Wallace. Watch as she turns a beautiful moment into something unhinged and ugly. Let's first have a look at the beautiful moment.
Joining us at the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer. In 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Now, it takes a broken soul to turn that beautiful moment into something ugly, but that's precisely what Nicole Wallace did. Watch here, she starts off pretty well, but halfway through, the TDS kicks in, and she says something so full of bile that she's straight into Lefties Losing It Hall of Shame.
But I think this was a lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel joy about DJ, and I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives and the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
You know, this woman's TDS is incurable. Even Rachel Maddow tried to move on the conversation right after that. She didn't want any part of that lunacy. When you're too far off the reservation for even Rachel Maddow, then you know you've gone and stuffed up Nicole.
Problem is, in the beauty of that child is the tragedy of the Trump presidency. Because we don't know how he survived pediatric cancer, but it is likely he benefited from some sort of cancer research. And it is a fact that Trump has slashed cancer research.
Yeah.
Actually not true. And shame on the Democrats who refused to stand for DJ, refused to cheer on this brave kid who has fought for his life, who loves his country, loves law enforcement. They sat there with their bitter looks on their bitter faces, holding their stupid little signs, and refused to just be human for a moment, to acknowledge a beautiful moment. But at least they were being bitter and twisted quietly. Not so Democrat Al Green, who was determined to make a spectacle of himself. This lefty losing it was warned again and again.
Small business optimism saw its single largest 1-month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session.
You heard Speaker Johnson, but do you think Al Green listened? No, he kept waving his little pimp cane around and yelling that Trump had no mandate. He was about to discover the FO portion of the FAFO equation.
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
That was fun. But then Old Al had the nerve to say that it was the Democrats who are civil, and then he called for another impeachment of Donald Trump. Good luck with that, champ.
Who uses his incivility against our civility. He is a person who has consistently been used incivility against civility. Well, look, I'm willing to suffer whatever punishment is available to me. I didn't say to anyone, don't punish me. I've said I'll accept the punishment, but it's worth it to let people know that there are some of us who are going to stand up against this president. And I'm also working on my articles of impeachment. This president is unfit. He should not hold the office. 34 felony convictions, 2 times impeached.
Earlier today, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt took aim at the Democrats, the media, and in particular, Nicole Wallace's disgraceful antics.
Last night, MSNBC's Nicole Wallace disgustingly looped in a 13-year-old boy with brain cancer into an attack on the president over January 6th. And CNN's first chyron out of the speech called it divisive. President Trump wasn't divisive. The Democrats were. And CNN was proven wrong by their own viewers, 69% of whom, in a post-speech poll, said they had a positive reaction to the president's speech.
69% of CNN viewers like the speech. So even I didn't see that coming. And the YouGov CBS poll was even more positive. 3 in 4 loved the speech.
The CBS YouGov poll that shows that 76% of those who watched the president's speech last night approved of his speech.
Now let's look deeper into that Trump speech and Americans' reaction to it. It was unlike any congressional address we have seen. 2 solid hours of America First shock and awe. It was bold, clear-eyed, jubilant and deeply emotional at times. It was a celebration of what makes America great and a recognition of the job ahead. And it started off strong, and watch here the reaction from different sets of voters. We've got the infamous worm. The Republicans are the red line, Democrats blue, but it's the independent voters, the yellow line, that are fascinating. Watch how they react.
To my fellow citizens, America is back.
And when it came to the antics of Democrats booing, particularly Al Green, who was booing and heckling so much that he had to be removed, again, that yellow line is fascinating. They did not like that kind of behaviour. Let's bring in commentator and author of the new book, The Children We Left Behind, Adam B. Coleman. Adam, we've now got a censure resolution by Republican Dan Newhouse to reprimand Al Green. It's survived a procedural hurdle earlier today, but there probably is not going to be any sort of consequences for this Democrat beyond him winning support of, I don't know, the ladies of The View and the more radical elements of the left.
Yeah, there's not going to be any sort of expulsion or anything like that. But I would venture to say that he may gain certain support, but did he really gain much of any sort of support? I think what we saw from that graph is that the Democrats, including Al Green, are losing. They're losing the independent voters, like myself. And as someone who is open-minded and would prefer to have 2 competent parties that are fighting for the American interest, I'm seeing one party that is actually doing so. And I'm seeing one president by the name of Donald Trump who is actually trying to unify. He constantly uses the word unify whenever he has various speeches. He's constantly speaking to the issues of today. And he's not focusing on niche problems or trying to manufacture problems that don't exist. He, in rapid fire, in a matter of 45 days, has accomplished a hell of a lot more than Joe Biden did in 4 years.
He made that point at the very start. He said precisely that. And it's incredible just how much positive support he has had. Even polls run by CNN had the clear majority saying that was a speech they were happy with. But we talked about the radical left and the ladies of The View. They thought the Democrats should have walked out. In fact, let's listen to Sonny Hostin being upset they didn't get up and follow Al Green out of the chamber.
What I saw when Representative Al Green stood up and said, you don't have a mandate to take away Medicaid, and he was tossed out. I expected the rest of his Democratic caucus, the rest of his colleagues to walk out with him.
Adam, you are an independent. How broken is the left in the US right now? From watching from here, it seems like the loudest, most prominent voices are also the most unhinged.
That's absolutely correct. It's very disappointing because after Trump's win, I thought there'd be a moment of recognition. Like, where did we go wrong as Democrats? Where they would reflect, even just for a little bit. I've seen very little of that. And so much so that I've seen maybe one or two somewhat prominent voices second guessing their strategy. But the large majority are just doubling down. And they're going back to Trump derangement syndrome. And so much so that anyone who is attached to Trump, even a cancer survivor, can't even get an applause because Trump selected him to get some sort of prominence. So I'm seeing petulant children coming from the Democratic Party. And that's what we saw last night. We saw children. These aren't representatives. They represent no one except for themselves. They don't represent the interests of the majority of voters who show poll after poll showing very clear what they care about, and they ignore it. They go forth with things that are niche. They go forth with the far left and their endeavors. They go forth with everything else than someone like myself who is open-minded and willing to vote for either party. They completely ignore me. When I complain about illegal immigration being down the street from me at a warehouse, and there's illegal immigrants who work there every single day, what do they say? Americans don't want to do those jobs. Don't worry about it. So far, the only person that I see that is strong in having some sort of resolution is Donald Trump, and that's the very man that they hate.
They do, and they hate him so much that we've had the Democrat ladies in pink holding up their silly little signs. But these women who are supposed to be all about women's empowerment, they could not bring themselves to applaud a woman like Peyton McNabb. Here she is, sitting next to Second Lady Usha Vance, and Trump recounts her ordeal.
3 years ago, Peyton McNabb was an all-star high school athlete, one of the best, preparing for a future in college sports. But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side and ending her athletic career. Peyton is here tonight in the gallery, and Peyton, from now on, schools will kick the men off the girls' team or they will lose all federal funding.
Adam, this is an issue that is hugely popular amongst the electorate, hugely popular as in they back Donald Trump. Something like 80% of people agree with the president, and even a sizable majority of Democrats agree on this issue. And yet you've got every Democrat voting against this sort of legislation. They will not even deviate from this position, this fringe position, when they know it's hugely unpopular. Why do you think that is? Because obviously politicians are in the business of winning support and winning elections. They know they're on a loser with this, but they just are doubling down.
Well, it's depending on whose support they're actually trying to win. They're not trying to win my support. They're trying to win a particular group of people's support. And it's very clear, you know when someone's priority is based off of how much attention they give it and how quickly they respond to it. And we see what their priority is. Their interests are of the NGOs. Their interests are of the LGBT organizations that are always in their ear, telling them what they want, completely ignoring what everybody else who doesn't have a lobbyist, who can't show up at Congress to lobby for what they want, right? The American people, who are mostly rational when it comes to things like this, understand that there's something highly unfair with having a grown man play against other women. They know that. I mean, even children can see the difference between men and women on average as far as size and strength. Yet these people want to pretend that they don't see it. So I think you have to question, who are they actually serving? Because they're not serving me. They're not serving the average American who's just using common sense.
Well, Peyton McNabb had this to say about the Democrats. She said the Democrat Party was disrespectful. They didn't stand up for any of the guests. They didn't stand up for DJ Daniel, who is the young boy who survived brain cancer. They didn't stand up for Lake and Riley's family, whose daughter literally suffered a traumatic death that should have never happened. And every other guest that was there had some sort of powerful story, and they didn't clap for any of that. So it was heartbreaking. And honestly, I wish I could say I was surprised, but I'm not. Adam, they didn't even clap when the arrest of an Islamic State terrorist was announced. I mean, surely they understand the optics of this, that they are coming across as anti-American, not just anti-Trump.
You're exactly right. They are coming across that way. The problem is that they are in a particular bubble that is not willing to criticize itself. All it does is affirm itself. And so that's how you get them showing up with paddle boards and messages on it with uniformed colored outfits, right? Believing that they're actually doing something. And this is the biggest problem with the Democratic Party. They're in love with virtue signaling. They're in love with the idea of doing something, but not actually doing something. They are married to showing the world that they're good people by doing absolutely nothing to prove so. And so this is where we're at today. Petulant children who do absolutely nothing to help the very people that they were elected to support. They're supposed to be representatives, and all they care about are the people who are sitting next to them in Congress, not us.
Now, let's end with a bit of a shady camera work. The cameraman here is just very mischievous indeed, because Donald Trump was talking about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, how he's stripping it out of the bureaucracy. And let's see who the cameraman or woman chose to focus on.
The tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer.
That is some shady work there, Adam, focusing on Ilhan Omar. But DEI is a big issue. It is, again, a polarising issue, one of the ones that really separates the Democrats and the Republicans. What's been the fallout from Donald Trump implementing these policies? Because as he said, it's not just going to be in the bureaucracy, in the government bodies. It's going to roll out in the private sector. He is not going to have any sort of institutional racism where someone gets an advantage because of their skin colour or their gender or their sexuality.
Yeah, what's been happening with DEI has been fascinating. I actually have a piece coming out tomorrow on my Substack about it. You know, corporate America has been pulling away from DEI for the past couple of years, especially. It's too costly. The cost-benefit analysis isn't really there. On top of that, you have all different types of boycotts. The language of DEI has become toxic in many corporations. And so 5 years ago, where they were pledging to, support this Black-owned business and to hire X amount of people of this demographic, in some companies, they're completely scrapping diversity. We're having a little bit of an economic downturn. There's a lot of layoffs, and the first people who are getting fired are part of the diversity crew. But the biggest thing when it comes to the federal government, I think is going to be important with Trump. While the corporations are using Trump as a scapegoat, I do think that Trump is going to empower the EEOC to actually go after corporations because diversity hiring violates the EEOC standards. And so they have every right to go after a corporation who is still practicing these things.
That is going to be amazing to see if you've got corporations being having fines or all sorts of investigations if they find that their hiring practices are discriminatory.
Get woke, go broke. Ain't no joke. Get woke, go broke. You're so damn woke.
Toxic, terrible man. Hey!
Go away now. The Oscars think they can go woke, but Hollywood will now go broke. YouTube give itself an award, and Susan take a fall on the sword. Get woke, go broke. Ain't no joke. Get woke, go broke. You're so damn woke. Get woke, go broke. Ain't no joke. Get woke, go broke. You're so damn woke. Get woke, go broke. Ain't no joke. Get woke, go broke. You're so damn